Hello, Eagles fans. I'm Chris McPherson, and welcome to the season finale of Cover 2 here on PhiladelphiaEagles.com. Yes, we know the Eagles are not going to make the playoffs, so we're not going to look back at the game against Washington. We're not going to preview Sunday's matchup with the Giants. We're going to take a big picture view of the Eagles as they will prepare for the offseason. And to help me do this, I brought in Les Bowen from the Philadelphia Daily News and Jimmy Kempski from Philly Voice. So Les, the Eagles may win 10 games for the second straight season, but this year they are not going to the postseason. In your estimation, Les, what's the biggest reason that the Eagles are going to miss the playoffs?
Well, I think everybody knows quarterbacking and turnovers. You win, you get to the playoffs because you have really good quarterbacking. The Eagles didn't this year. Tony Romo was by far the best quarterback in the division, and that's the team from the NFC East that's going to the playoffs. And it's not going to be an easy thing to solve in the offseason, but it's going to have to be all these other problems that everybody wants to get so deep into with corner and the offensive line and all that. None of that matters if you don't have solid quarterbacking. And I don't know how they get it exactly, but that's what's going to have to happen.
Jimmy, do you agree that the quarterback play?
Yeah, I think especially in the Seattle and the Dallas games, you saw the difference between the team that has a franchise quarterback and one that is playing with a solid backup. And then, of course, the turnovers. You know, I don't know what happened this past Sunday, but after the Eagles game against the Redskins, they led the league not only in turnovers, but both in interceptions thrown and fumbles lost. So it was kind of like the triple crown of turnovers for the Eagles this season. And then defensively, they gave up more 20-plus yard pass plays than any other team in the NFL. So, I mean, if you look at the majority of their games, and even in many of their losses, for the better part of the game, I think they outplayed most of their opponents, but they just got killed by those kind of devastating plays, in that the turnovers on offense and then the big plays when they're on defense.
So let's look at the free agency picture. Two of the biggest guys will look on offense. You have Jerry Maclin, Brandon Graham, arguably the biggest free agent on the defensive side of the football. Les, in your estimation, who is more important to keep? What do you think the Eagles have to do looking forward? Because there's just a lot of big questions that this Eagles team must answer in the offseason.
Boy, that's a real good question. I think you really want to keep Maclin here. He's your number one pick from 2009. He had a great year. He should be in the Pro Bowl. He's a character guy. There's just no reason to not give a real effort to re-signing him. Franchise him if you have to, I think. You don't want to. Another thing is, you have enough stuff you have to fix. You don't need to fix that too.
Yeah.
You know, Brandon Graham's a tougher consideration. I would like to see him back. A lot of times, this kind of stuff has to do with the agent and what the agent wants. And I don't get the sense that, even though Brandon has done a wonderful job adjusting to the 3-4, that he really sees himself, or maybe his agent sees him as a 3-4 player. But I don't know. I don't know what the market is. Everybody's talking about, everybody loves pass rushers. Did Brandon Graham do that much that he's going to be? We just don't know who else is going to be on the market and what the price tag is going to be for keeping Brandon Graham. I think they'd like to keep him.
Jimmy, do you think there are other issues that the Eagles must address in addition to taking care of the in-house matters like free agency?
Well, just in terms of the free agents, just to piggyback off what Les was saying with Jeremy Maclin, I think they almost have to bring him back because you look at the wide receiver position, you have Riley Cooper with a down year, certainly didn't have as good a year this year as he had in 2013. Then, of course, they brought in Josh Huff, they brought in Jordan Matthews to be determined where they're going to play Jordan Matthews going further. Are they going to keep him in the slot? Are they eventually going to give him a little bit more outside responsibility? So Maclin is a guy that I think really was one of the, if not the best player on the offense. Certainly for me was just probably one of the biggest pleasant surprises on the team this season. And then defensively with Brandon Graham, yeah, I think the Eagles should want to bring him back because you have a situation there where Connor Barwin's coming back. I mean, that's the only sure thing coming back at outside linebacker. Trent Cole, I think they'd like to have him back, but I don't think they can possibly bring him back at his cap number next year. And then Marcus Smith, who they drafted to be an outside linebacker, to be determined whether he's going to play outside or inside, and whether he can even contribute solidly next year or not. So I think they'd like to bring Brandon Graham back just because of that. They don't have enough numbers there as of right now, but to be determined if Brandon Graham gets a really nice offer from a 4-3 team where his more natural position would be at defensive end. Now, in terms of other issues going forward,
what would be the other biggest question, I guess you would say, towards the offseason?
Yeah, well, it'd be quarterback for me, and then just however many other pieces they can add to the defense, and more specifically the secondary, where I think cornerback is an issue, and then I think they've been looking for a safety for a long time. They brought one into Malcolm Jenkins last year. I think they'd like to add another piece next to him.
Unless you get the last word. Other big question, big need that the team must address?
Well, corner. I think everybody knows poor Bradley Fletcher, who's a wonderful guy, just isn't going to be back at that spot next year.
He's a free agent. So.
Yeah, he's a free agent, and we all saw what happened. So, they have to replace him either with the draft or free agency. I don't think they have anybody on the roster that they're penciling into that spot. They clearly don't want to move Brandon Boykin outside. And Nolan Carroll, they like in that dime role. I don't think they see him as an outside starter. So that's, after quarterback, that's question one for me. What do you do back there? And you have to be better. And you have to be competitive against good receivers.
It's going to be a very interesting offseason. He's Les Bowen from the Philadelphia Daily News. He's Jimmy Kempski from Philly Voice. And I'm Chris McPherson. Thanks for joining us all season long on Cover 2 here on PhiladelphiaEagles.com.